Hello, bookish friends on the internet. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Drew, and this is Drew's Ambitious Reading. I hope y'all are having a wonderful New Year's, as today is the 7th of January. I am so sorry this video is coming out super late. I've been just too lazy to film my wrap-up. Lately with my wrap-ups, I just haven't been feeling like filming a wrap-up, so I think with my 2023 wrap-ups, I'm gonna do a wrap-up of like every 5 books I read. So far I read 3. One of them's not in the stack because I took pictures for Instagram, so it will be in my stack soon. But I read 3 books so far, so I just need 2 more before I do a mini wrap-up. But anyways, without further ado, today's video is going to be my December wrap-up. In the month of December, it was kind of a slumpy month. I don't know if that's the same for everybody else in the book community, but for me, I only read 6 books. So let's just jump into the stats since it is such a small month. So starting off with our like star rating systems and all that, which I might change that this year as well. So we'll see how January goes. But so for December, I have 0 1 star, 0 2 stars, 1 3 stars, 3 4 stars, or sorry, 4 4 stars, and 2 5 stars. One of these was an arc that I read for Rockstar Book Tours. Thank you so much, Jamie. One of these, or 5 of these, are audiobooks. 0 book of the month picks. 2 of these were buddy reads. 2 of these were completed series. 1 of these were a graphic novel. 0 library books this month, but that's changing in January. 1 physical read, and 5 new releases that came out in 2022. 0 Owl Crate books, and 4 books that were on my December TBR. So as you can tell, I was super ambitious with all the readathons that I was planning on doing. And I didn't really get to a lot of the books that I wanted to, but with the books that I did get to, I was really happy because one of these books I'm going to talk about is a new favorite slash a book club pick. So we love getting to our book clubs. So my page count for this month is 2,240. Biggest book of the month is, let me grab it for you guys. I have books surrounding everywhere. My biggest book of the month was Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the 2nd installment of the Legendborn trilogy. I really love this. Talk more about this in a few minutes. And my smallest book of the month was my graphic novel, and that was Fangirl Volume 2 by Rainbow Rowell and adapted by Sam Maggs. I really enjoyed this one. I'll talk more about this in a few minutes here as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the books and what I rated them and why I gave them the ratings. I'm going to try and be better with summaries here in this video, so let's get into it and see if I can do summaries. So the first book I read was a 5-star read. I absolutely loved this, so I technically have 2 new favorites in this video. Also, before I jump into anything else, I want to say I do have 2, actually just 1 book that is a HarperCollins title, and I still support the HarperCollins union. I just don't like how it's having a strike right now, because with having that strike, it's hard for me to read and review books, especially because January I have 4 books for, I don't know if they're from HarperCollins, I will have to double check, but I have 4 books I'm doing a book tour for January. Anyways, I still support HarperCollins. I think they need diverse voices and get their money correct and whatnot. So yeah, I still support them, but I did read a HarperCollins title in this wrap-up. Anyways, the first book I read in the month of December, without further ado, is The Blood Trader by Letty Noni. This is the 3rd and final book in this trilogy. Excuse me. In the Prison Healer trilogy. I picked this series up on a whim. I picked up book 1 last year in December, which is kind of funny that I'm actually holding book 3 up in my December wrap-up this year. I wanted to read this in November because I read book 2 in November, and I did started this in November, but it was like the very last day of November, so I want to say I finished this on like the 3rd or 4th of December. I can't really remember when, but it was definitely early on in the beginning of the month. This one absolutely hurt a whole lot. I feel like this series, I should have put this, if I didn't, I should have put this in my top 10 books I think are very underrated here on BookTube. But this is in that book list that I have. I'll probably do like a part 2 to that video sometime soon. Anyways, this follows our main character. Do I even remember? Because it's been a while. Kiva and what's the prince name? What's the prince name? I'm such a fake fan. This is why I should be taking notes when reading my books. Oh, and there's no... what is the prince name? Oh yeah, Tip is the like brother slash side characters. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen here or leave it down below in the description. But Prince and Kiva was such an amazing couple that I really was rooting for them. They are just my new favorite couple as well. I really fell in love with this world, even though it is a dark and gruesome world. I really did enjoy being in here. It was very brutal and a lot of actionness in here. There was some lovey-dovey time, if you know what I mean. I just overall really enjoyed it. I loved how this trilogy wrapped up. I feel like with the way that she ended this, I feel like Letty Noni can do like a spin-off series to this world, because I would love to see like a spin-off series of like the prince having his point of view, or maybe even some of the side characters that we get to meet at the end of this book. If you read this book, you know. The one thing that I didn't realize while reading this book, and I have this happen to me earlier this year, was I was reading a book that had a heist in here. Like, there was a heist novel in here. I wouldn't say it's a heist. I would say it's more of a quest, because they have to try and find these 4 rings that are on the cover. So having a cover that's this beautiful definitely draws me in as a reader. And I kept having to go back and look at the cover, be like, which ring did we got now? So each time they did it, it was very intense, and I was shocked by like some of the stuff that happened in here. There is, I think it's like, it's not pixie dust. I forgot what I called it, or what they called it in here. I would have to see if I have it on one of my messages here real quick. Because I was talking about this book with my friend Nicole, who's from my public library. She actually got me to finish this trilogy this year, because she said she loved book 2 and 3 more than book 1. And I wanted to see why that was. So I'm really, overall, really happy with this. And I'm happy that I completed another trilogy. But yeah, overall, 5 stars. It was fun, fast-paced. Definitely one I will recommend to this day. I mean, hell, I've been recommending this first book of this trilogy to people who are doing like that 12 books recommended by 12 followers. I've been using this trilogy a lot because I just want more people to read it. It is so amazing. I loved having someone to talk to about this after I finished this. So I'm looking for something similar to the Prison Healer trilogy. I know this is compared to Throne of Glass, so with that long-winded summary slash synopsis, I really enjoyed this, and there was a lot of history and backstory in here that I really enjoyed as well. So 5 out of 5 stars. And let's jump into the next book, because that was like 9 minutes of the video already. So the next book that I have read for you is Rise Up from the Embers by Sarah Rosh and Kirsten Simmons. This is the second and final book in this trilogy, or not trilogy, duology. I read Set Fire to the Gods 2 years ago now. I want to say back in like 2020. I buddy read book 1 with my friend Lori, and we actually buddy read book 2 together. This is book 2. We buddy read book 2 together. Also, this is part of the Epic Reads / HarperCollins publishing company, so I'm so sorry for reviewing this. So I won't talk too much about this. I would say if I haven't waited so long from the first book to this one, I think I would enjoy this one a bit more. But because of that, my lack of enjoyment, I can say, was a little lustered. let down, I guess. And I didn't fall in love with the characters like I thought I would. The characters felt very different to me, and we were in a different setting. There was a point in this book where I gasped out loud, and I literally FaceTime Lori right after I read this book, because Lori, because this is like our smallest buddy read we ever done. Lori was reading this ahead of me, and she's like, "Oh my god, you should read this and see what you would think of it." I think Lori gave it 4 stars. I'm not too sure. I mean, Lori, I know you watch my videos, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I gave this one a 3 stars. It was definitely my least favorite book of the year and my least favorite book of the month. And I'm so sad too, because this does wrap up the series. So I am happy that I have another series off, but I am not happy that I didn't really enjoy it. So even though this is a very different YA duology, I might unhaul both books. I don't know. That's a little brutal, but I might unhaul both of these books in this series, even though I do have Sarah Rosh's These Rebel Waves, I think is what it's called. That duology I want to try, so I'm hoping I love that one more than I love this one. So anyways, 3 out of 5 stars. Definitely my least favorite of the month. Next book I read was for Jamie over at Rockstar Book Tours. Thank you so much for putting me on this tour. I love this author's writing, so I was so happy to see that you did a tour for it. And that is A Wilderness of Stars by Shea Ernshaw. This is Shea Ernshaw's newest release that came out in November, I want to say. I was also one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I really enjoyed this one as well. This was a solid 4-star read for me. This one, I think either this book or The Blood Trader got me in like a reading slump, because I read The Blood Trader and wrapped up an amazing series and was like, I don't know what to read next. So that's why I picked up Rise Up from the Embers. That way I can complete another series. And then I was like, oh, my book review for this is December 14th, which you can see my book review for this on my Instagram account. I'll leave that down below. Definitely go check it out, please. I did an amazing job, I would say so myself. But next year, a goal of mine is to get better at posting them on here and also on my book talk, like I said I would, and I never do. So I'm gonna get better at that next year, hopefully. And yeah, this is a YA standalone fantasy novel, which we don't get a whole lot of standalone novels. So when I heard that she was having a new book coming out, I was ecstatic. I was like, sign me up. I don't really need to know a whole lot. This was kind of intriguing as well, because we follow our main character named Vega, and she loses her mother in the very beginning of the book. It's no spoiler. It literally says it on the back of the book and on the summary. So she loses her mother, so there's a trigger warning for death of a parent in case you don't like that subject. But the way she grieves and like finds herself happiness again, I guess you can say, was an interesting journey. The way this book was set up, I felt like I was reading a pirate story, to be honest, because at the end of this book, they had to like hunt for this mystery boat or something like that. It was a little bit confusing at the time when I read it. So I had to go back and reread the last like 100 or so pages, but I overall still really enjoyed it. I listened to this one via audiobook as well, along with Rise Up from the Embers and The Blood Trader. So I definitely really enjoyed the narrator for this audiobook. It was such a fun, easy listen to get lost in, and it was really easy to picture the world and the characters of what they're doing and how they get there. Seeing a female main character with a shotgun was really cool. Felt very badassery. I don't know if that's a word, but it felt very badass to me. And if you read this book, I think you would know. I would say this is my favorite out of Shea Ernshaw's work so far. I read The Wicked Deep, and what's her other one? Wentwood. I haven't read Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, or I haven't read A History of Wild Places yet, but I definitely want to read those this year. I would say this is definitely my favorite out of the 3 that I've read so far, so really happy I enjoyed this book. And if you love anything with stars and just natureness, I guess, this is definitely a good book for you. This is also like a forest setting type of book, so if you love a good forest setting book, definitely check out this. And also, there was some romance in here that I was not expecting some romance to be in here, because I think it's been a while since I read a Shay Earnshaw book, but I was like, oh my gosh, there's a romance in here, and I did not expect it to be a romance, so I really enjoyed it for that. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars. Will it be on my favorite list? I don't think so, but I will still recommend. And I hope more people read this book, because this is a really good read. And yeah, I'm kind of bad at summaries, so I'm so sorry about that. Next book I read was my favorite book of the month and my biggest book of the month, and that was Bloodmark by Tracy Deonn. This is the second. I thought this was going to be the final book of this duology, but the way that Tracy Deonn ended this book, I was livid. I was so livid. I was like yelling at the top of my lungs. My parents thought I was crazy when I finished this book because I was yelling a lot in my bedroom. I was like, how the bleep can you end a book like that? I can't really talk much about this one just because it is a direct sequel to Legendborn, which, oh my god, 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely a new favorite series of mine. I also tabbed this book up, and I also believe I did a reading vlog for Bloodmarked, so I'll leave the reading vlog up above or down below if you want to go check that out. That was such a fun vlog to make. But I finally finished this right before the end of the month as well, so that's why it's kind of towards the end of my wrap-up. Anyways, if you don't know what this series is about, this follows our main character named Brianna. She finds out she is like the next in line for being like King Arthur. So it's a King Arthur retelling, but it's kind of a remix as well, because it's from a female's point of view instead of a male's point of view, which I find out very intriguing. I can't really say if the rep is good or not, but I'm assuming it was, because I really enjoyed most of the stuff that happened in here. There was a few things that irked me with Cell when he... I'm not going to say what, because I will definitely spoil it here, because I know some of my friends haven't read this sequel yet. I do not know how this lost in the Goodreads Choice Awards, because I definitely would have voted for this if I read it earlier enough in time. But I was shocked it didn't win Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm very mad about that still. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I know it sounds like I'm a little angry with this book, but honestly, I really enjoyed. There's just a few things that these not only Cell, but Brianna also had a few issues with me. There was some stuff that she did in the beginning that I wasn't a huge fan of. And I get it that they're dealing with grief in this book as well. So I get grief can do some crazy, dumb things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was such a fun continuation of what happened in book 1. And the plot twist in here, oh my god. I was like, shook. Do people still say that word? I don't know. But I was just shook with this one. I really enjoyed it. As you can see, I tabbed a whole lot about it. A whole lot in here. So yeah, I overall just really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys pick the series up because it's really wonderful. I can't believe I didn't read this sooner. But yeah, definitely, if I could, I would put this on my 2023 favorite list, just because I did read this at the very end of the year. But I don't know, it was just a fun, enjoyable read. Even though it was my longest book of the month I read, I did still overall really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in book 3. There's no news about book 3, so if there's any news about it, I'll let you guys know on Instagram or something like that. But I overall just really enjoyed the series. It's very hyped up right now because this one did just came out, but thank you to OwlCrate for sending a beautiful copy, and I really enjoyed it. I can gush on and on about this book, so I'm going to stop now before this video gets way too long. Next book I read was for my book club pick, and I should bump this up to like a 5-star read because I really enjoyed this one as well. I didn't tab it as I should have. But the reason why I really want to bump this up to a 5-star read is because I read this the week of Christmas. I think I started this like the 23rd or something, and I finished this the 26th. So I didn't finish it quite on Christmas because it was like 2 a.m. Christmas night. So like after Christmas. So I was like, I'm going to count it for December 26th, you know? And that is You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince by Timothy Jovanovski, I think is the author's last name. This is technically book 2 in a series, but I didn't know it was a sequel until I looked on Goodreads and until I looked on the back of this book. The first book is Never Been Kissed, but I heard from the author himself, you don't have to read Never Been Kissed before reading this one. They stand alone as like companion books is what they said. And they also said that you can still enjoy this book without having to be read Never Been Kissed. But there are like Easter eggs and cameos from Never Been Kissed. So I definitely want to pick up Never Been Kissed sometimes this year. So I'm excited to do that. Timothy Jovanovski is a new author, but I will definitely check out more from because I really enjoyed this holiday short story, or not a short story, but like the holiday story of this one. If you don't know, or if you haven't been hearing me talk about this for months, this was my December book club pick for Career Reads. If you don't know, I run a book club called Career Reads. I'll leave the Instagram down below. We read a young adult, middle grade graphic novels for our book club every single month, so definitely join us. We have exciting new reads for 2023. Anyways, this one I really enjoyed. This has a small town setting, which I don't read a lot of, and it also had a enemies to lovers trope that was so well done. I would say the lover of this kind of annoyed me a little bit in the beginning as well. But I really enjoyed this. This was a fun, like I said, I read this during my Christmas break. So it was just a fun, easy read and definitely one that I enjoyed. And I will definitely read more from this author. But yeah, Matthew Prince is a character I can relate to a whole lot, from going from New York into the small towns that her grandparents live in. And things go from there, I guess. I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about books without spoiling. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I read this during Christmas season, and I think that was the perfect setting for this book, and I really enjoyed it. I give this 4 out of 5 stars. I might bump it up to 5. Let's just say I give it 5 stars. And the final book that I read for the month of December was Fangirl Volume 2 by Rainbow Rowell and Sam Maggs. Sam Maggs did the adaptation, and the illustration is done by Gabby Nam, I think is the person's name. I'm so sorry for butchering this one. This is, like I said, as you can see from the title, it's the sequel to the first volume, which I really enjoyed. I wasn't a huge fan of the first volume, but this one we dive deep into like the storyline of it, and I'm curious to see how they're going to do a third volume, because this is a 400-page download novel. So it's basically just like a retelling of what happens in Fangirl, but as a graphic novel format. The illustrations in here are just so adorable. Like, it's so easy to read and all that. So I literally read this in like 2 or 3 hours. I was gonna say days, but that didn't sound right. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love being back with Kath. If you didn't know, Fangirl was like one of the very first contemporary novels that I read when I started out my book journey, I guess. So I was really happy to be back in this world and to be back with Rainbow Rowell's writing. It's just so funny and made me laugh out loud in this one. So I cannot wait to see what happens in volume 3. And I would have to wait till August to find out. So yeah, there you have it. Those are the 6 books that I read in the month of December. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, turn your notification on so you don't miss any new videos coming from me soon. And I'll talk to you guys down in the comments below. Bye.